Imagine risking up to 1 year in prison and thousands of euros in fines for denouncing a drag queen show intended for children. Well, that is exactly what a French activist is facing.
I face a year in prison and a 45,000 euro fine. A year ago, I denounced a drag queen picnic in Nice with children. An entertainer talking about deep throat in front of the kids. Condoms in plain sight of kids, ideological workshops to learn to classify genders. This family planning stand informs 5-year-olds about vulvas, penises, and the 250,000 genders that exist. But listen closely to what comes next.
It's interesting to know your body and others' bodies.
Teaching about others' bodies to 5-year-old children.
These are explicit pornographic poems thoughtfully written from real text messages.
Alors n'hésitez pas d'ailleurs, je vous rappelle si vous ont mis en chaleur.
Today, the Nice Judicial Court wants to indict me for public incitement to hatred or violence based on sexual orientation and for defamation.
Alex Alavoie for Rebel News, and today we turn our attention to France to speak with Yohan Pawer, founder of the Eros Group, an organization that denounces the excesses of wokeism and LGBTQ++ activists. Following his public stance and his effort to expose a drag queen show that took place in Nice and was intended for young children, some reportedly as young as 5 years old, Yohan is currently under formal investigation and could face a sentence of up to 1 year in prison, in addition to a substantial fine. But Yohan is not an isolated case. In recent years, several activists, commentators, and journalists have been targeted or are currently being targeted by legal proceedings. France appears to be going after dissident voices in an effort to censor them. Today, we speak with him about his case, about freedom of expression in France, but as well as the state of France. It's not going well, so let's listen to Yohan.
Actually, it all started in 2024 when I infiltrated a drag queen club. There were drag queens reading stories to 5-year-olds in schools, and I used a hidden camera. I infiltrated that club, and at the time, it caused a huge buzz in France. As a result, I received many messages from gay people saying, "Finally, we feel represented by someone on the right." Because many think that homosexuality, well, when you're gay, you're on the left. No, there are also gay people on the right, and by taking that action, it opened doors, it freed up speech for many gay people. And so, one thing leading to another, I told myself, well, why not create a collective that brings together other gay people like me? And that's where Eros was born, and so we carry out many actions. We get drag queen clubs shut down. More recently, we had an Islamic book banned in France that called for killing homosexuals. So our work is still considered very, very useful in France, but we are facing gag lawsuits. And now I just learned that I have been placed under investigation because I denounced again a drag queen picnic this time where performers were talking about deep throat in front of 5-year-old children, which is just scandalous. And for denouncing that, I am facing 1 year in prison and 45,000 euros in fines. So I do not have them yet. There will be a trial. What I'm trying to say by this is extremely serious. For me, pedophilia is real in France. By the way, we are in the middle of a scandal about extracurricular activities. There are many children being raped in schools. It's a huge scandal in France. And now we learn today that I can be condemned because I want to protect children. It's completely scandalous. We live in a crazy country.
Can you explain exactly who filed a complaint and what exactly you are accused of?
So, this is the Family Planning Center of NICE and the LGBTQA plus YZ Center. There are 36,000 letters in NICE. They are filing a complaint against me for defamation and public insults. I don't see what is defamatory considering that the term deep throat was not invented by AI. We have all the evidence. It is indeed an animator who said that, who used the word deep throat. There were also pornographic books. So in fact, what I am denouncing is that the world of children must remain the world of children. Why do adults get involved in the world of children? Because I want to remind you that it is called the Rainbow Festival Pichon. Pichon is a childlike word. It is written that it is for ages 5 and up. And there were stands with pornographic books. There is a lady who talks about pornographic poems. And children are running right next to it. So there you go. Those are the two associations that are filing a complaint against me. So we are obviously going to fight because it is out of the question that I be silenced. What is serious today is that reality must be muzzled. All people with common sense must be locked up. There you go.
What does this say to you when you see something like this happening? When you are placed under investigation, when you face possibly prison for just having denounced and to protect children. In fact, isn't supposed to be the role of the state to do that, to make sure children are not sexualized, are not indoctrinated by ideologies like drag queens? Because it's not just in France, it's also here in Canada. What does this say to you about the state of what France is becoming today?
Well, for me, yes, the state has a role to play in this, but it is mostly the parents, actually. Parents who are irresponsible to take their children to this kind of place. Well, first, it's the parents who must educate their child and know what is good or not good for their child. And then the state, which must apply within schools, standards, things that, for me, are just common sense. Actually, at school, we are there to learn to read and write and not to learn about sexuality from men dressed in drag, because that's what drag queens are. What I think about France today is that there is obviously a rise in wokeism. The funny thing about Canada is that we are always 10 years behind you. You have been suffering from wokeism for quite a few years now, and we are currently getting hit by it full force. And today we see that there are a huge number of excesses. The government is clearly complicit. The government is turning a blind eye to these kinds of excesses. And, well, my goal in denouncing this through videos that get thousands or even millions of views is to shake up the government a bit and create a public debate. And what I hope is that my voice is heard, but above all, I hope not to go to prison or get a 45,000 euro fine for protecting children. And Emmanuel Macron, I can't wait for him to leave. Roll on 2027, actually.
As for you, you're part of the LGBT community. Can you tell us, people from your community, do you feel represented by these drag queen festivals or the Pride Month?
Oh no, I don't feel represented at all. For me, it's LGB. Everything that comes after the letter B, T, Q, I, Y, Z, for me, those are people who do a lot of harm to homosexuals like me. All we want is to live in peace. We can live our sexuality in private. It is like religion. Religion belongs in the private sphere. Well, it is the same for me. I do not make it a banner. I am not proud to be homosexual. I don't think heterosexual people are proud of being heterosexual. We don't hold marches for heterosexuality. No, I mean, we have our rights. Today, we can get married, we can work, we can live normally. In France, where there is no death penalty for homosexuals. I don't see what other demands there could be. And today, well, we see that there are many excesses like queer for Gaza, things that actually polarize people, and that creates homophobia. Actually, these people, they don't realize that with their excesses, they are creating homophobia, transphobia, because people are fed up with seeing these minorities wanting to impose things on the majority. And that is what is infuriating. And I do not want that. Actually, I just want to live peacefully as Yohan, not just as a homosexual, but as Yohan. So yes, I am homosexual, but that is a private matter. And these people, they make such a huge deal out of it in schools, through Netflix, through advertisements. And it is not good, actually. Too much propaganda kills the propaganda.
When are you going to have your trial? And what do you think will happen? Do you have any plan? Did you contact any lawyers? How are you organizing on your side?
Well, I found out about it just a few days ago. My lawyer knows, so we're working on putting together a case, for the counterattack. And now I have 1 month to send a letter explaining why we did this and why I shouldn't be in court. But we know full well that no matter what happens, there will be a trial. In France, we have a very powerful far left. All the judges, we call them, in France, we call them the red judges. They are left-wing judges who are pro-immigration, who are pro-wokeism. I don't know if you know Dora Muto and Marguerite Stern, who released a book that caused a scandal in France called Transmania. Dora Muto had a trial a few months ago because she said that women should be wary of men with penises. But I need to recall the context. In American prisons, there are transgender men who say they are women and who go into women's prisons and female inmates. But in fact, they are still men even if they have a female appearance.
In Canada also.
In Canada as well. So Dora Muto said that sentence, be careful of men with penises even if they wear a wig, and she was convicted. Even though it is a logical sentence, there are figures, facts, statistics showing that yes, it exists, and she was convicted for a true sentence. So yes, there is a huge risk. 1 year in prison, I don't think I would get 1 year. What is being requested for these facts is 1 year in prison. Maybe I will get a 4-month suspended sentence, but even that is extremely serious. So we are waiting to see. That is why I'm calling for a French mobilization. My case is gaining momentum in France, and I am now trying to take it global. I know I'm in contact with Tommy Robinson. He would like to share my case. I will publish everything tonight, by the way. But for me, it is out of the question that we stay silent.
What is happening in France? Because we see that you are not the first activist to face prison or convictions, either for what you said or what you filmed. Even journalists right now, not for defamation, but simply for doing an investigation, may also face 6 months in prison. What do you think about all of this? Are we trying to suppress dissenting voices? What is happening in France?
Yes, because in fact, the Rassemblement National is exploding. It is the first time in its history that we are on the verge of reaching government power in 2027. So, all the leftists are in a state of total panic. And since we, people on the right, denounce reality. Actually, what is interesting is that 30 years ago, we had to stay silent about everything, say nothing. And today, with digital media, young people, especially young people, dare to speak out. And that is what is bothering in France, that now our ideas are heard by millions of people who were completely out of touch, completely clueless, who did not realize the reality. And the fact that people like me, or like Thais Descuffon, or like Frontier, well, we are a nuisance. We bother the leftists because we name the facts and it is shared en masse. We get millions of views. So many people say to themselves, damn, it's crazy what's happening. But thanks to Yohan Pawer or thanks to Frontier, well, I learned that. There you go. And that's what bothers people. And that's why they're trying to silence us. Because we, people on the right, don't have public subsidies. There is only the left. Everything like SOS homophobia, SOS racism, they have millions per year in state aid and private subsidies. We are small right-wing influencers or small newspapers. Well, right-wing media, we don't get public subsidies. So they tell themselves, well, Yohan Pawer, we're going to silence him, we're going to get him convicted. He might not have the money to defend himself, so we'll kill him off like that. Except that, in fact, I have an army behind me. I have an army of subscribers, of people who support me and who help me. I set up a fundraiser, I am receiving money, and I will fight to the end. That is also why I'm trying to publicize this case, to get as much help as possible. And actually, the people on the left are starting to lose it and are saying to themselves, actually, we're done.
At Ribbon News, we have a petition at stopclassroomgrooming.com. If you want, you can go and sign the petition to make sure that we need to stop what is happening in the school system, the indoctrination about gender ideology. If you can, also subscribe to our YouTube channel and let a comment.